was a suggestion made, it wasn't voted, but there was even a suggestion that there be some when they were the plan or something, because they were saying, look, staff represents its views in the presentation, but not the planning.
Okay.
And then Greg was saying, well, they can read the minutes. The plan commission members or something. They're not going to read the minutes. No, we need to have you. And here we are again, once again, referring everybody to the minutes. I'm pitching the idea of some all gets really rolling.
Yep.
Join, I don't know what committee, the whole meeting with the planning commission. Now we're going for an hour and say to them, what are your concerns? Or is it just to get a little more full view, because they put a year and a half into this sucker,
And we got it summarized.
and you get 15 minutes on that day and then go right in the meetings. So, you know, and the thing is, Ally Ticey, who's the chair, pushing, and he was the staff. Greg said, oh, well, do you want to make a presentation? I said, oh, no, you guys can be doing it, but there was real concern from several commissioners that, well, even to the fact that, like, they voted last spring to take all mention of inclusion. Greg said, well, because I think it should be there. I mean, you know, so
Well,
I'm
maybe
just
I'll touch base
suggesting,
with Valerie.
yeah, or maybe, well, or if there's someone. Done politely, so not. That might help. Okay.
Thanks, Linda.
Hey, Pinky.
Peter. Okay.
Okay, I think you already finished that. Yeah, yeah.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the afternoon session of our committee meeting for May 16th. Our first committee meeting is Parks and Recreation, and Michael Lilliquist is the chair.
Thank you, Pinky. Joining me on the Parks and Recreation Committee are Council members April Barker and Roxanne Murphy. We have a single item for us today. It's consideration of a resolution authorizing the city to apply for and then enter into an agreement for a Washington Wildlife and Recreation Program grant for assisting with the acquisition of land for a community park in the Cordata neighborhood. We already have purchased this park land at considerable expense, and this is an attempt for us to get additional support, and I'll let our Parks Director explain further.
Thank you. Leslie Bryson, Parks and Recreation Director. And as you are all aware, last year we bought a 20-acre new park in the Cordata neighborhood for a community park. At that time, by applying for a waiver of retroactivity under the Washington Wildlife and Recreation Program, we then hold the ability to apply for a grant at the time the grant program comes up. And 2016 being an even year, we can now apply for the grant. So this is a grant program where they require a resolution to be passed by council in advance, so they make sure that the community knows, that the elected officials know that we're applying for the grant and they agree to the grant program. Since we've already bought the property, I assume that won't be a problem. This is the program that requires that we update our park recreation and open space plan every 6 years. And when we updated the plan in 2014, we applied for a grant for the Beta Baker Trail, and we were successful in getting $500,000 for that. And with this one, we could receive up to $829,000 in reimbursement for that purchase. So. Any questions?
Committee members? April?
Well, great forethought on staff's part. Yet again, these grants come up, and I'm so glad that you guys are paying attention to that. I went through to the link to understand a little bit better about what we're agreeing to, because it sounds like you'd be agreeing to some future specific parts to the land. Some of it suggested salmon, some of it didn't. So I was just wondering, will it cost any more than the money we're getting? What are we going to be?
So exactly what it says in the resolution. Once we buy the property, the state, we have to put a covenant on the property because the state holds a deed of right since they're helping to pay for it. That means if we ever want to sell the property, we would have to put another piece of property under a deed of right instead. So it holds the property in perpetuity as a park.
Okay.
Unless we go through some other steps. They have a lot of different programs. They do run the salmon funding. They run local parks. They run local trails, state parks. But there are just what's in the resolution is all that's required.
We're not obligated to anything more than just getting some money back. Well, thank you guys for all your work on that.
Roxanne?
I just moved that we pass the resolution authorizing the city to apply for and enter into an agreement for a Washington Wildlife and Recreation Program grant.
So we have a motion on the table to recommend passing the resolution tonight. I would just note that the $829,000, if we get the full amount, is almost 1/4 of the full acquisition price. And I assume what that means if we get it is that, in a sense, money would return back into the Greenways Fund that was used to purchase the park. Is that correct? And that would enable other programs? What happens if we do receive it? What does it free up and make possible?
Usually, I don't think there's any requirement. Usually it goes back in the fund where we spent the money to begin with, but then we would go through a budget appropriation with council as to where that money would eventually get spent.
And was that Greenways 3 that we used?
It was Greenways 3.
Okay. Any further discussion from committee or council members? All those in favor of recommending the resolution tonight signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll bring that forward, the unanimous recommendation tonight, and that concludes the Parks and Recreation Committee meeting.